Small properties and tiny studio apartments have definitely become an increasingly popular entry point into the property market. While properties may be affordable, are they a suitable investment?
Director of HighSpec Properties, Amanda Gould, is with us this evening for Your Money Live. Location, you always say, is key for these kind of investments.
Absolutely, absolutely. Under 10 k's of the city, preferably as close as possible. For example, Potts Point, Surrey Hills, Darlinghurst. I have one in Newtown I bought back in 1997 for $112,000. It's worth $480 now. It's never not rented.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that applies? I mean, is that rule the same all over the country in terms of the capital cities there? I mean, Sydney, of course, being, a focus, but yeah, Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth, they all, you want to get them as close to that CBD as possible? I
would think so. I don't know the other areas as much, but I would think that they would rent easier. I mean, the good thing about having something so close is obviously you're looking at transport, restaurant, shops, where people really want to be. And some people will sacrifice size to be in those locations.
Okay, rental yield, talk to us about that.
Yeah, look, I think the big thing, I love, firstly, I like to say I love smaller apartments. I love them because the yield is high, they're affordable. There's a few downfalls, which I'm sure we'll be talking
we can talk about those.
But the reason I like them is because you can get in with $300,000, $400,000, and you could be getting something really in a prime location. Yield, you're looking at really anywhere from the high fours. I've seen one for 6% recently.
Right.
That was in Potts Point. I think I sent you an example of one in Bondi. So there's anywhere that's in a real prime location that people want to be living in.
Yeah, we can mention that now. We've got the Bondi one to throw up, I think. That's the one you're talking about there.
Yeah, look, this came across my desk yesterday, and I thought, I wonder if I've got an investor for this, because a lot of studios don't have balconies, and this one had a balcony and a car spot, and it's renovated. So it was I think that was a 4.95% yield. It's got a pool on the roof, as you can see, and it's just nice that you can actually get out instead of being hemmed in, which a lot of studios are.
What about when it comes to lending from the bank? Because we know we've got a bit of a difficult environment right now. Is there any difference, I suppose, the way that you're going to be looking if you rock up to a bank trying to get a loan for a smaller apartment, a studio like this?
Absolutely, that's the biggest downfall. Even when I got mine, 20+ years ago, it was a challenge, but that's back when banks actually did lend on 30 square metres and below. Now they don't. A lot of them are overcapitalised in certain buildings, especially in Potts Point and those suburbs that have smaller apartments. So yeah, it is a challenge. You usually have to come up with at least 20% deposit, and there's only a few lenders. A lot of the big banks don't touch them under 40 square metres.
What's the attitude?
It's under 40 square metres. I've talked to a number of bank...
So under 40 you're saying they're not keen, not even under 30?
Under 40.
Under 40, right.
Yeah, they changed those rules some time ago now, but there are still lenders out there, and that's why you need a good mortgage broker who knows which lender's going to be the best for you.
So should potential investors see that as a warning sign that the banks aren't interested in them, though?
I don't think so. They rent out so well. I think that if you've got a long-term goal of holding this property, like I did when I bought this back in 1997, it's just a sit and forget. I never do anything. I've done one renovation and a couple of coats of paint in between. It just rents well. It's never vacant, and it's in a prime location in Newtown, and that's what you're looking for, something that's just going to be a sit and forget that you just can maybe put Airbnb on if that's allowed in the building, or just a normal renter in there for a year and get a pretty good yield.
Yeah, would an investor or buyer have high hopes in terms of capital appreciation as well, or is it mostly about the yield play?
It's more about the yield on studios. Yes, they will appreciate over time, of course they do. I have with mine, but it's not as fast growing as maybe a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom unit. And something that you've got to think of, if you were going to sell it, the impact of those, the pool of buyers is a lot smaller than you would have got otherwise.
Right, because of the lending situation.
Because of the lending situation. So you might be halving those, I don't know the figures, but you might be halving the pool of buyers. Down, like especially when you've got some that's small as 15 square metres, but the yield can be as high as like 5.5% to 6% on those small ones.
Too small? Is there a line where small is too small?
Personally, I think it's too small. I love a studio that's got something like the one I mentioned on Bondi Road.
Sorry, how many square metres was that?
That was 30 square metres, 14 for the car. So that you might get away with that with a bank because it's 44 square metres in total. Usually it's internal, but sometimes banks will look at things a little bit differently if it's got a car spot. So yeah, look, I think they're in good investment, but there are some pitfalls you just got to watch out for. But if it's a sit and forget, I would still do it.
What about in terms of off the plan buying when it comes to studio apartments? Is that something to steer clear of? Do you want to be looking at things that are more established?
I prefer things more established only because of the price point that they're at. If you're looking at a studio, you know, it maybe in Bondi Junction, you're probably paying, you know, $550, $600 for a studio for a brand new build. Plus, you've really got to know the builder and the developer. I shy away from too much off the plan. I've got to really know who we're dealing with that's actually building the product.
Amanda Gould, so fascinating to speak to you. Thank you so much. Food for thought in this market, and studios. And it's interesting, some can be too small. I'm interested in that. Thank you so much.